Hello and welcome to another video on Frames team, and today I'm going to talk about the Fuji XS20 and the fact that I'm not part of any cool club. Okay, let me get straight to the image quality. I'm going to begin with the image quality first. This is a 26 megapixel camera. The dynamic range is just right, quite good. It's similar to what the X-T3 had when it comes to shadow recovery. If an image is underexposed by 3 stops or a part of the image is underexposed by 3 stops, you can reliably and quite successfully bring up the details and the colors and tones with the files from this camera. And for highlights, getting overexposed by stop is manageable. I would say try not to get overexposed by more than a stop, which is true for most cameras, but some cameras do not do well even by a stop when overexposed. So this is I think plus 0.7 to 1 stop. That's how far you can go when you're trying to overexpose. When it comes to high ISO, I won't go beyond 1250 ISO 1250 if I want relatively clean images. But if I can, because with these Fuji cameras you can control the kind of grain you get. So if you're okay with the grain and you want to control the grain with the setting inside the camera, I guess you can go up to ISO 3200, but I won't recommend it. I think even the grains can start becoming ugly post ISO 2000. That is my view, my experience, and my taste for grains. Okay, grain is also a matter of taste, but ISO 1250 is as much as I'll go up to. I would not recommend anyone to go beyond ISO 3200. But after that, things can get noisy, so don't go to ISO 6400 is what I'll say. So the ISO range of this camera is between 160, which is the base ISO, and goes up to 12,800. This does not go up to 50,000 plus ISO ranges that you see happening with some of the full frame cameras. Now, talking about the image quality, you must talk about the colors coming out of any Fuji camera. As usual, this camera outputs beautiful colors. My favorite is Astia Soft, not Provia. My favorite is Astia Soft. Slightly toned down, nicer colors, and classic chrome. These are two of my favorites. At times when I do not want to use log, this camera has S-Log 2. When I do not want to use log profile for videography, I can use Eterna. Generally for photography, I do not use Eterna. For photography, I choose between Astia and classic chrome. Of course, you can cook your own recipes or go to fujiweekly.com and find interesting recipes there. Now let's talk about the autofocus. Honestly, it felt better than the X-T5. I don't know whether it is just my perception of it or that's the truth. It felt better than the X-T5. I think the hit rates are not very different, but overall, it's sort of during the shooting process, it was okay. It felt good. I got 26 shots out of 30 shots in focus in very similar situations where I have been shooting some of the other cameras like ZF, the X-T5, Canon R6 Mark II, just to get the autofocus tested in low light conditions. So the latest Fuji processor, X Processor 5, is what is powering this camera, and I think that has done a decent job of actually giving a decent autofocus. But I have to tell you, when I was shooting this time, I was actually using the Sigma 56 1.4, the X-mount Sigma 56 1.4, and it worked really well. It worked, I thought, better than the 33 1.4 Fuji. But it's the same thing with all Fujis. It's so lens dependent. The autofocus performance is very lens dependent. There are some lenses that do really well. I think the 33 1.4 is actually one of the faster lenses that we have in the Fuji stable. So I don't think it is really the 33 1.4 that is holding back the X-T5's performance. But I think overall this feels a bit quicker because maybe it is actually using less information from the sensor because it's a 26 megapixel camera versus 40 megapixel X-T5. Now let's talk about handling. That's a very important part of any Fuji camera. Now this camera is unlike the Fujis that you are used to seeing. This is a PSM style camera. You can see the PASM dial here. This does not have the retro styled body with the top ISO and shutter speed dials, but I like it. I like the fact that it's got a nice grip to hold onto the body. It's a really thin, light and tiny body, and but because you have the grip here, it is very easy to work with larger lenses. Let me show you. I have this Fuji mount X mount Viltrox 75 1.2. This is actually the largest and heaviest Fuji lens I use, and I use an almost 10-12 of them. So when I think of using this lens, I'm shooting this video on the Fuji X-T5. I feel that the XS20 is actually better camera to mount this lens on for a portrait session or even for street photography. This just feels better because I have a nicer grip here. Okay, that is not the case with the X-T5, and definitely if you want a small Fuji body, which is how APS-C bodies should be, and at the same time if you want to mount lenses like this, XS20 is the body for you. And it's a really good well-rounded upgrade from the XS10. It feels better overall, it feels sturdier built, all of that. Of course there are bigger bodies like the XH2 and the XH2S, but those are bigger bodies, far more expensive cameras. For a camera of this size, for a camera of this budget, I think the way this camera operates is really beautiful, and it's very comfortable to mount a lens like this and use it for such a longer period of time. So the way to look at it is that you can actually access your small APS-C body advantages, which is nice and stealthy and small, but also mount a relatively large lens from time to time. This is the body that you should go out for. Also, let's not forget the flip out screen. That's a very important feature of this camera. The flip out screen is nice. It's not too large. It's quite well detailed. The screen is quite nice. It's a touch screen. The colors on the back of this LCD screen is actually quite nice, and it's not quite off from what you see on a desktop or a laptop when you see the files there. Let's talk about the EVF. The EVF is 2.36 million dot EVF with 0.62x magnification, which is not a lot. It's also not a very large EVF, but I think it's effective. It's good enough for what this camera is supposed to be. Okay, and but I think that this EVF is what makes it a consumer grade camera, along with the fact that it's got a single card slot and it doesn't have a dedicated card slot area. It just has got a space beside the battery here. Coupled with the fact that its high shutter speed is 1/4000 of the second and not 1/8000 of a second. These three things, the high shutter speed, the smaller EVF, and not having a dedicated slot for dual card slots, is what makes it a prosumer camera. But again, like I say, it's a very well done prosumer camera. The eye cup is small, but it's usable on the EVF. Now, despite this being a prosumer camera, like I said, it's got 11 customizable buttons. Now, 4 of them are actually screen touch functions. As in, what I mean is that you can just do this and that. You can just swipe on the screen and activate different touch functions. You can assign a function. You can actually assign a specific function to these swipes. So you can have 4 swipes meaning 4 different things to you. For example, the right swipe on this camera, on my camera, is set to displaying the film profiles or the picture profiles. But the good thing is that overall, while using this camera, I never felt as if it was missing anything significant. Yes, the headphone jack is on the right side of the camera, which is a little strange, but well, at least it's there and it's not missing a headphone jack. That's a good thing. The ability to quickly change this dial and set it to vlog and then just quickly start vlogging is also quite cool. Overall build quality feels good, better than the XS10. The front wheel is extremely light. That's the only thing that stood out. The build quality overall is really beautiful, but this particular front wheel is so light. I mean, so easy to rotate. I don't know, it just feels strange. I had never had a camera where the wheel is so easy to kind of move. I didn't also like this tiny fan cover here, the connector for the fan here somewhere. Okay, I didn't like this. I thought it's very easy to kind of lose this tiny cap. And it's partially weather sealed. It makes this back of the camera partially weather sealed. So I think that's a bit of a compromise just to be able to shoot longer videos and to use a fan. I don't know, I mean, sacrificing a bit of weather sealing. I'm very sensitive about weather sealing. I want my camera to be really, really sturdy. Also, one third thing that I didn't like is, of course, the small micro HDMI. But then, even the much more expensive Fuji X-T5 has a micro HDMI. Even my Nikon ZF has a micro HDMI. So I think it's a matter of space, not just choice. I think these little tiny bodies may not actually have so much space as to put full-size HDMI port. Now let's talk about the IBIS. Well, the IBIS is really good. It has got the same IBIS as on the X-T5, which is 7 stops. And it's quite good. I mean, I thought that I could actually shoot at 1/60th of a second, 1/50th of a second quite comfortably without getting blurry shots, which is testimony to the IBIS. And you've also seen how the IBIS actually works while vlogging, while just hand holding a video. In conclusion, this is perhaps the most well-rounded camera within $1,500 US. Like I said in my previous video when sort of critiquing Tony Northrop, I said that he said that the Canon R8 is the most well-rounded camera within this price bracket. I don't agree. The R8 is a full-frame camera with a lot of compromises, and it comes at US dollars 1,500. This is at $1,300 US, and probably at this point there may be a few used XS20 available on the market, which you can probably buy for $1,000 US, which is great, really, really nice. But especially at that price point, at $1,300 US new, with IBIS, with the ability to attach a fan and extend your video shooting time, much better build than the XS10, an open lens mount, mind you, like I'm using a Viltrox here. I have a Fuji 33 1.4 here. Then there is the Sigma lens of Sigma 56 1.4. I am not a primarily Fuji shooter, but I have so many third party. I have Viltrox, I think 3 Viltroxes for Fuji mount. I have one Sigma, like I said, and a few native Fuji lenses. So it's an open mount, the open lens mount, IBIS, fan, better build quality, a built-in flash, mind you, okay? A built-in flash. So a prosumer Fuji camera at $1,300 US, 7-stop IBIS, a fan that can extend your video recording time, much better build than the previous generation XS10, an open lens mount which can hold lenses made by Tamron, Sigma, Viltrox, probably not Samyang right now, and a built-in flash. Okay, it's got a built-in flash, custom buttons, a lot of them, and the size, weight and handling of a Fuji, along with the grip and the ability to move to PSM and quickly change to vlog mode. All these abilities, this camera is a lot of value, and to me it is the most value camera for the year 2023, according to me. Someone said that the Fuji XS20 is a boring camera. Yes, it is such a boring camera. It doesn't do anything extraordinary. It doesn't do anything exceptional, but it does so many things, and it does so many things so well. The camera doesn't step in your way with your bulk or heft or some glitches in autofocus performance or some problem with the file quality or some problem with build quality, leading you to not have confidence in the camera when you use it in difficult conditions. It just lets you be what you want to be, and it's just a great camera without objectionable quirks. It just works overall, and if that's an asset to anyone, and the fact that it just works within this price point is an asset to anyone willing to spend just the right amount of money to get the most well-rounded camera made, I think, the last 5 years. I know that's a tall claim, but I'm pretty sure about it. I'm going to see you soon with another one soon.